It's Dee Dee on the spot.
Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to my guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone to please like and subscribe down below if you enjoy this content. We greatly appreciate it. We have Lexi Bentley coming to us all the way from Utah. You can follow her on Instagram at Bentley801. Lexi, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory? What got you into health and fitness?
So I actually never played any sports in high school. Everyone asked me that. They're like, what'd you do? I had no athletic ability in my body. Grew up riding horses, and that's because the only thing I could do was I could stay on. I had self-preservation. And basically, I started to gain weight, and my mom didn't have any idea as to what to feed her kids. She didn't know how to cook, and then he'd be like, I'm hungry. Well, here's some snacks. And so I grew up on basically eating just carbs, never knew what protein was, avoided fats, and then all we ever had in the house was like sugar. I'm not even kidding, like I should be a type 2 diabetic with the amount of sugar that I ate as a kid. It's disgusting. And so I ended up like, my mom would say, no, don't eat this, but she'd continue to buy it, and I would be hungry. There was nothing else to eat, so I'd eat crap. And I was a pretty active kid with, like, doing horses. Like, my mom wouldn't pay for it, so I had to, like, I own 3 horses now, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just real quick, like, there's a whole backstory behind it. But I started riding horses. My mom wouldn't pay for it, and so I ended up working, scooping horse manure in trade. I worked for $3 an hour, and lessons were $40. And so I had to work every day, enough hours to work to get my lesson for the week. And so I started from a really young age. I started when I was 7, and I just developed a work ethic that I can actually contribute to my mom, whether or not she realizes it. Like, even without meaning to teach me work ethic, like not actively knowing, she did, because she wouldn't do something. And anyways, high school came around, and my mom was starting to say, I mean, this sounds so bad. I love my mom. Like, she is awesome. However, she also suffers from a few different diseases that affect her ability to be like a full mom, which have led to my other issues, such as like I have a service dog for anxiety and PTSD, get panic attacks. Life is hard, but I'm coping with it. And so it kind of goes back to my mom and how I was raised, and it all just kind of started there. And I'm going off on a tangent, but I ended up gaining a lot of weight. I had no friends ever. Like, I mean, people were just mean, and it's because I'm an intense human being. I mean, you don't get into bodybuilding without being some sort of intense. You can't. You've got to have something in you to drive you, that intensity to go forward. And that's why a lot of people, I mean, there's not more bodybuilders just because people are learning that. And ended up in high school, like taking all these health classes. I got into running. I ran a half marathon, cried at the end because it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I hated every minute of it, but I did it. And so I cried. And I never lost weight from running. And I was like, what is wrong? Like, there's 2 things about my genetics. I'm really good at gaining fat, and I'm really good at gaining muscle. So I have to kind of play with that. And I practice flexible dieting. So if it fits your macros type deal, and I don't always follow macros, sometimes it's more intuitive because of my issues. So I ended up, I started exercising in high school, started running a lot, and people started to say, oh, I saw you running, da-da-da. And I was like, oh, I don't want people to see me running. That sucks. I don't want people to see how ugly I look when I run. So it wasn't until my freshman year of college, when I was 145 pounds, I'm 5'3", and I weigh like 130 now, but it's a whole different look. And so, I started with a CrossFit class, and I started to be able to, at the university I was attending, and he was a pretty good instructor. They didn't really let you mess around with a lot of weight, so I had good instruction for CrossFit, and it was a good introduction to kind of cross training from running to starting to introduce weights and like high intensity. And then I still hated it. It was too hard. Like, anything that involves a lot of breathing for me is hard. Because I already have, I mean, that's kind of how panic attacks start, is when you hyperventilate, you feel like you can't breathe, and you just, stupid things happen.
Yep.
And so That's also why, I mean, I take my dog to the gym and people are like, why do you take your dog to the gym? Like, legitimately,
Yep.
it's not just like, I mean, he's doing his thing right now. It's not like, I mean, he's a pet, but he's not, if that makes sense. Like, he is the reason I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
And went from doing CrossFit and kind of seeing a result, feeling sore, but not really results. I went to, there's the local gym is Vasa, used to be the Gold's Gym, but like they bought out all the franchise. And I hired one of their trainers for 3 months just to show me how to use the weights. And so I started to learn how to do functional training at the very beginning. And then my brothers have always been into bodybuilding. Sorry, a huge backstory real fast. So my brothers were always into bodybuilding. And so they would never train me. So I paid a trainer to teach me. And then after that, I started going with my brother because I could keep up. And like, he's the kind of guy, like, he wants me to be as strong as I can be, so he's going to teach me. He taught me everything he knew about bodybuilding. So he was obsessed with it first. And we ended up just kind of working out together, and then he couldn't go the same times I could or whatever, and I just started going alone. And it wasn't even until like I couldn't worry about the food at the beginning because I had no idea as to what I was supposed to eat. I'd never learned that, and I wasn't ready to learn that, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't ready to give up junk food because I ate for comfort, is what I learned. Like, my anxiety was so bad that I was mistaking, like, that pit in your stomach when you feel uncomfortable or just, like, weird and unsettling. I was mistaking that for hunger, and the only way to get rid of it was to eat. Like, right now, I probably eat 2,800 calories a day. And I'm leaning out. Like, that is not enough. I live a super active lifestyle, like, as far as, I mean, between the 3 horses, like, I still scoop manure. Like, I still do that every day. Still have to throw hay. I have to
It's a good back workout.
No, it is. It's a lot of legs, and it's a lot of moving, and it's awesome. I love it. So I have to eat a ton to not lose muscle mass. So, yeah, we were kind of talking about that earlier. You have to eat a lot, but it can't just be the problem that I got into bodybuilding. We'll just end there and you can ask the next question. But
no problem.
I got into bodybuilding just because I remember I got a tattoo as a freshman under here on my ribs, and it says, remember who you are. Because my mom always told me that when I got out of the car in junior high. And I remember junior high was really hard. Sorry, I might get emotional about it, but
no problem.
I'm being like a 7th grader. I moved to a new school, never didn't know anybody, and I never really had any like friends. I was an intense little kid. I was a lot, and I still am, but I don't care if people care or not anymore. So, but as a little kid, you want that acceptance. You need that acceptance from somebody. And so I ended up finding friends that were really toxic. There's a girl in the fitness industry that I grew up with. I met her in 7th grade, and we just had we've been friends for the last 9 years. And this last year I had to end it because it was so toxic. And so I didn't really have anybody to help me feel that. And so I had to remember who I was because I couldn't depend on anybody else to help me find who I was, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to remember who I was because I remember getting it. And I remember taking a photo, which I was going to post today, of the transformation, because I remember lifting up my shirt and I had this tattoo and I was like, that's not the girl that I want to be. Like, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing like a really out of shape, really depressed, sad, ugly girl. And I'm not that girl. Not that I'm like saying I'm not like a pretty girl. Like, I mean, it's just, I'm me. And I radiate my inside because I'm comfortable with who I am. And some people find that attractive.
I have to say, first of all, that yes, you are a pretty girl, so don't ever say that ever. So, and second of all, when you were starting weightlifting, one of the things that I get a lot, especially from women, is, that fear of they don't want to get too big. They think that touching a weight's going to turn them into the Hulk all of a sudden. They don't realize all of the hard work. When you were starting out, was that a fear of yours, and how did you overcome it?
So I kind of had the opposite problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I put on muscle and body fat real easily. So I've never had a problem with being big. Mm-hmm. Like, I was already big. I wanted to be small.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I kind of learned from the very beginning that you're not lifting weight is not going to make you big. Like, you think about, like, the only time that you're going to get bigger than you want to be is if you put in the work to be bigger than you know you can be. That's the difference. Like, if you go into the gym and you say, I just want to, like, using your muscle is going to build it. If you don't eat to build the muscle, you're going to get skinny and you're going to have atrophy and you're going to look like you're sick. But I remember, like, I always have lifted heavy, like, as heavy as I can, for me, because there's no point in wasting my time picking something up that I can't even feel. And I'm not saying go pick up the heaviest thing in the room. You're going to bring it back. But, like, I used to curl 35 pounds. Why in the heck do I need to curl 35 pounds? When am I ever going to strict curl 35 pounds? And so, like, this last summer, I kind of was like, I'm just going to lift. Basically, my idea has changed from, it's got to be heavy enough that around halfway through my set, that I feel a burn, but it's isolated and it's controlled and it's good form. And that's when I'm going to tear that area. And I've seen huge differences. Yeah. Like, it has been day and night, just dropping weight down to my actual strict weight. It's given me the definition that I need. And all of a sudden I have women complimenting my body. Whereas in my whole life, I literally, when I first started lifting, I was a nanny for this little girl and her little brother, but she was awful. She was so mean to me. I love her to death. I absolutely love her. And if she ever sees this, like, I love her. She has taught me so much. But she was 11 years old and reminded me a lot of me because she was stubborn, brilliant, insecure, and needed love. And the only way she knew how to get that was by being a brat. So I remember, I couldn't even tell you how many times that little girl fired me. Like, well, you're not the boss, but thank you. And I also can't even tell you how many times she would call me ugly and fat and really hurtful things from an 11-year-old. I grew up with that my whole life. That's hard. That sucks. And so I told her, I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, she's like, your arms are too big or this and that. I was like, you're right. Like, but here's the difference is I would so much rather be muscular and big than fat and big. And I'm already fat and big. I want to be muscular and big. And then all of a sudden I have all this muscle that is eating away at the fat and I just look shredded. And it's been a really cool, humbling experience. Like, I feel so bad because this kind of podcast is not so much of like, I mean, I'm just being straight up as far as I've got issues.
It's going awesome. I love it so far. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if it's too personal. But
no, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
all right.
Did you ever go back and visit that girl now that you've gotten all the muscles now and just be like, hey, you were talking crap about me before or whatever?
No. So actually I stayed at that job, in that position for 2 years.
Oh, wow. 2
years. And that little girl is going places.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to stay at the beginning because I'd come home crying every day for the first 6 months, and I don't cry. Like, that's hard. And so I mean, every time I would have a problem, I just try to approach her as like, I understand what you're going through because I had the same thing. And here's the thing is, people see me differently than I see myself. And they assume that they know how I feel. And I was telling someone like last night, it's really hard. So you know how, like, you can tell, air quote, like, you can tell when someone is sad and depressed. Yes? And I kind of was saying, I was like, just because I don't look the way that other people assume a sad and depressed person should look doesn't mean that I don't feel sad and depressed.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I had to explain that to her because I was starting to gain muscle and I was starting to feel confident in myself, and that's probably why she reacted. Is she's probably, I mean, it's hard. You got to think about it like an animal, right? Like, if you have an animal around somebody who's insecure, they react to it. Little kids are very similar because they haven't learned everything that we've learned because they haven't been alive for the same amount of time. And I haven't heard from her in a minute, and I think about her every single day. And I need to make a trip up to her. I actually saw a post about her the other day. And so she used to ride horses, and then she stopped, and then I came into her life, and she started riding again. And I think it's because I took her to ride my horse, and I was like, you should do this. And I ride dressage, which is very boring for little girls. They want to do jumping. Mine is very basic and very mentally focused. It's like bodybuilding. And I actually saw a post that she's jumping like 4 feet now on this little horse that she that was just not supposed to be as great as it is. And I'm like, it's kind of like I see her. She's going to be so great because if I can help her get as far along as she can before she's my age, and she's already going there. I mean, she's starting to feel confident and starting to feel better, and she's going to portray that in her attitude, and she's going to make more friends.
Do you think that experience with her overall helped you out with the bodybuilding? Because, I mean, bodybuilding is such a hard and tough lifestyle, especially at first when you're starting to work out. And once you get used to it, it can become a little bit easier. But going through that mentally, it's a huge challenge as well. Do you think that sort of mental challenge that she put on you, where you kind of had to mentally toughen up a little bit, really helped you out with your bodybuilding?
I don't really know. I've always enjoyed the weights. I've never had a problem. Once I started going and once I knew what to do, that's where I wanted to be. So I never really had a problem going and putting in the work because I'm like, I don't pay for a gym membership to not go. I don't pay for a gym membership to sit there and talk. I don't go to the gym and work out to look good for other people. I go to the gym and work out because it is legitimately the only way that I know how to cope. Here's the thing is, how you have to be in so much control when you do bodybuilding, right? You have to have a mind-muscle connection that is surreal in order to do a strict, real movement and to really build strength in those tiniest of muscles. And so, I mean, I can attribute everything in my life to helping me focus on bodybuilding, to be able to have that mental power and mental strength, because it is a skill to be able to focus. And I think that kids, how old are you, Ryan?
24.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm almost 23, so we're about the same age. And I'm just noticing that kids our age really struggle with focusing. We all think that we have ADHD and that we all have ADHD and that we all need an Adderall prescription. Do you know a lot of people on Adderall? Because I know a lot of people on Adderall.
I legitimately do have ADD, but yes, I know a lot of people that lie about it and then take like fake substances. And I know so many people, college friends, that would take the same stuff that I take just to function normally, and then they take that stuff just to study for exams. But yes, it is a huge problem. Yeah,
well, and here's the thing: is there are real deficiencies in people that they need that. However, I feel like some kids we haven't been taught how to focus.
Absolutely.
And it's how can you be successful in anything if you can't focus? And so people are like, well, how do you focus on the gym? Well, how do you focus in life? I mean, where do you start? I mean, it's starting with choosing to wake up in the morning. And it's starting with choosing that, oh, you know what? I'm starving and I want that treat. And the treat is not bad for me, but maybe I'm going to drink some water because I'm probably thirsty, eat something that I know is good for me so I feel full, so I don't eat the entire bag of those treats because they're so good and I'm starving. It is practicing and exercising the skill of self-control. I mean, that's all it is, and the skill of being able to focus.
If you could change one thing about the bodybuilding lifestyle, what would it be?
That people assume that food is everything. It's just not. Food is food. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times, I get looked at so badly because I eat a lot. And people are like, how the hell do you look like that and you eat like that? And I'm like, I don't eat like this all the time. That is the difference. It's not, I mean, we kind of a lot of people are like, what is your favorite cheat meal? What is cheating? I don't cheat. I eat. If I want something, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to eat all of it. I have a really hard, like I used to have that problem where I was like, oh, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. And it's just staring at you. And you're like, okay, I'll have a little bit. And you're like, well, I already ate a little bit, so I'm gonna eat the whole thing. Because I'm usually hungry. I need to eat a lot of food. And so I eat what's around me. And so I actually, I ended up finding my way into, it's called Health and Fitness Meals here in Utah. And they're in Salt Lake. But they do pre-made meals for me, which has been so helpful because I am so busy that I don't have time to make food. And so when I come home, the only thing I have in my house is processed because it takes way too much time to make food in advance.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm too lazy. That's an area where I need to practice the skill of focus and do it, right? But I found someone that's willing to do it for me. And so it's like, I mean, it's the same price as if I brought groceries, but they're all ready to go. I pop in the microwave for 2 minutes and I'm like, oh, thank God, like a home cooked meal is good for me. And then if I still want that, like all the processed junk in my house, I can eat it. But I've tried to really cut out on, that's the one thing that I've noticed is just really quick is the amount of processed foods that I ate, my body retained. As soon as I started eating clean, people came up to me, are you competing? I didn't change the amount of calories I was eating. And I would legitimately come home with a box of a dozen donuts of Krispy Kreme donuts, like once a week, and just eat the whole thing.
Yep.
And that was when I was unhealthy because I was like, I need to eat, but I don't feel like eating. And I need to keep my metabolism up. So I'll just eat junk. And I almost like legitimately killed my lower intestine because they were so unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I can eat whatever I want because my body can metabolize it. I've built enough muscle that my body will burn it. However, if I don't eat well, it affects my performance and it affects my mental stability, which is crazy.
Yep. It's muscle, body, mind connection. It's one of the things that I found out too that's really, really fascinating, yet really scary at sometimes too. But on a quick tangent here, everyone, if you need to go check out her Instagram, you will find that she has one of the cutest dogs you will ever see in your entire life. It's unbelievable. When I first saw it, I was freaking out. But one of the things that I really wanted to ask you too is with your dog being that in the health and fitness lifestyle, has it really helped you kind of find out like healthy treats for them, like a more healthy lifestyle for the dog as well?
So my dog, it lives the exact same lifestyle as I do. I don't feed him processed things. He actually will not eat them. Like you can offer that dog people food, and the only thing he'll ever take from you is meat. The only he's not a beggar because he's like that's just crap. Like. He got into the pre-made meals that I made or that I had got from the company, and I almost cried. I was like, "You made my meal!" But he was so hungry, and they were like right there. And I got out of the car I was out for like 20 minutes, and so I was like, "Well, he was with me all day. I can't be mad at him for being hungry, and also like that's the kind of food he can eat." And he was like, because they're fresh vegetables and fresh meat, and I've had to switch his food up a bit, finding the right one. I get him like the most, dogs are supposed to have grains, I believe. It's kind of like us, right? We're supposed to have carbs. We need carbs. Dogs need carbs too. Be good carbs. So I don't want to feed my dog like waffles. I mean, which I got waffles right here, right? Like my dog doesn't eat waffles. However, like he can eat rice. Rice is great for, like, if you have a dog that's having an issue, like, with their tummy, rice is awesome. And that's not something that's going to hurt them. So, yes and no. Like, I kind of, like, do the same thing with him. Like, I definitely have processed foods for me, and I have processed foods for my dog. But on the most part, yeah, I want these dogs are supposed to live for 20 years.
Wow. What are your future plans when it comes to bodybuilding? Do you have any shows that you're preparing for, or are you just working on the physique overall?
So, at first I got into, just lifting. I just wanted to be thin. And I wanted to have definition, and I understood that I had to gain muscle, lose body fat to do that. And then, it wasn't until last year, so I had been doing weightlifting for 3 years at this point. And then I started a graveyard shift at the hospital, because I was pre-med at the U when I was doing Spanish. And ended up getting so depressed and so out of balance with hormones and chemicals in my body that I couldn't do it. So I was like, and I was prepping for a show, and I was just doing it by myself. And I was like, this is not worth it. If I get fat, I get fat. But I need to realize that my mental health comes first, 160,000%. Because I know that if I don't take care of it, it leads to really bad things. And I don't want to go down that road. That's not me. That's the old girl. She can stay in the dark. Go away. So I was like, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. I'm gonna just eat whatever I want, and I'm gonna build for muscle. And that's when I kind of found Cass Martin was last summer. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's huge.
Yeah.
I would love to be that big.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I was like, I've got this size. I just need to shred down to her level. And so I gave myself, I was like, honestly, I was starting to think about testosterone and artificial hormones. And I was like, why would I do that? I am 22. Like, if I'm already as big as someone who has been successful and is successful, I don't need something superficial and artificial to tell me that I can be better, because I know that with my current work ethic and the amount of time that I have to build, I got all the time in the world. Give me 3 years of my consistent mindset, I'm going to blow everyone out of the stage, and I'm going to be 100% natty.
Yeah.
Is huge in this industry.
Yeah. One of the things that I do like to say to people is that it's 100% your choice whether you choose to do artificial stuff or not. I mean, it's all 100% your choice. I have nothing against it. I've never personally done it myself, and I would never do it, but if you want to do it, your fault. But just remember, everyone out there, if you're doing it, that those effects, especially for women, last a lifetime if you start doing them. So make sure to remember that before you get started. But again, if you want to really do it, more power to you. But just remember the side effects that will happen when you use it, and sometimes people forget about that, and then they realize like 10, 20 years later the side effects are still there, and then they're like, oh, I maybe shouldn't have done that. But just remember, make sure that you think about it for a long time and that you really decide that that's something that you would really want to do.
Well, so yeah, I agree 100%. Like, if I was in this to be strictly the best bodybuilder ever, why wouldn't I take pro hormones? Like, I would get there a lot faster.
Yep.
That's what they are, is they get you to a point faster, and then once you've reached that point, you just keep going because you're addicted at that point, because you've seen results. And so that's where body dysmorphia, I feel like, could be worse, because you're using something that you have to continue to use to supplement in order to maintain the size that you've adapted to, and you feel the best in. And also, the biggest thing I want to touch on is, you look at some of the best bodybuilders. So before I found out about Cass, I used like Ronnie Coleman. I'm a huge Kai Green fan. That's my dog. Kai is named after Kai. I'm actually getting a protective canine dog here in the next couple of weeks. Her name will be Ronnie. And, Dana Lynn Bailey and like Lauren Finley, like Hani Ramba, like all of those guys. I'm going back to like the main Olympia guys though, right? Like, you look at people who have won the Olympia title, they have all taken some form of test.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't care who you are. You can tell me you haven't. I know you have. But for Ronnie is like such a great guy, right? Inspiration for bodybuilding. Opened a whole new level of, you can do it. Everybody wants to be a bodybuilder. Nobody wants to lift heavy weights. Like, I lived my life by that. I had Tinder for a minute. Stupid idea. Never do it again. That was my bio, is everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to lift them heavy ass weights. Because no, that's true. That is so true. Everyone wants to be fit, but nobody wants to put in the work. My first
experience with anything Ronnie Coleman was that we had a kid in high school that always yelled "lightweight baby" before he lifted weights, and I'd be like, "Where'd you get that from?" He's like, "Oh, Ronnie Coleman, go look him up." And I looked it up, and I was like, "That's one of the funniest things ever." So I start using that before like everything. But yeah, Ronnie Coleman is a huge inspiration. But when it comes to, and I got to mention to everyone too, Cassandra Martin, if you don't follow her, she has some of the best arms in the entire industry for female wise, and she is a great personality to go and follow. But Lexi here took a photo with her, and she looked just as good as Cassandra Martin. So everyone out there, go look at that, and you will see, yes, Lexi has got it going on when it comes to physique-wise. So when you were meeting those people firsthand, how starstruck were you when you were meeting Cassandra Martin?
So that was actually the second time that I met her.
Yeah.
So I met her 6 months ago, or I guess 8. I met her in January at the LA Fit. And, super nice girl. I like looked at the photos when I like took them, and I was like this. I was like, oh, don't eat me. Like, I was afraid I was gonna look small and that I was less of a person than she was. And so yeah, I was definitely like I was like shaky. I was like, oh my God. And here's the thing is she's just another human. She's the only difference between her and somebody else is she's put in the work. That's it. And I was like, well, I like took a picture with her and I was like, and I took a picture with Lauren Finley at the Anaheim, or no, LA. I saw a cast at Anaheim. And Lauren is a figure competitor. She trains with Hani. She is huge for her size. Her delts are incredible. And I took a picture with both of them, and I was like, well, I'll be damned. Like, I can keep up with these pros. I said, just give me some time. That's when I started thinking about tests, because I was like, I don't know if they're natural or not. I'm not about to claim anything. I'm going to be straight. Because, I mean, I'm as big as Cass, in my opinion. Or at least I hope. I did it naturally, so how could I discount her doing it naturally? Like, that's not right. So, anyways, this time I was like, I waited in line for like 2 hours, and I was like, it's worth it, because I want to talk to her. I want to let her know that, like, I genuinely appreciate her, because whether she knows it or not, like, her doing her thing allows me to think, well, shit, I can do my thing too. And I can put my twist on it, so I'm not copying her because I want to be as big as her. It's like, oh, you're big and strong. I want to be big and strong. Like, she does construction. Yep. Like, that's so badass. And I'm like, well, I scoop horse shit for fun.
Yeah.
It's badass, but it's work ethic.
Yeah.
And, like, that's kind of the other thing is I tell people, they're like, well, why do you want to be that big? Or what is the point of being that muscular and this and that? And it's like, in the past, it was about gaining size. And that's why testosterone was, not even test, but just like a pro hormone, like Anavar or something, was a thought process. But it's not about the size for me. Like, if I do something right, the size is going to come because that's just physics. Like, X plus Y equals Z. I mean, bottom line, right? But I have all of these things that I need to do that I did my whole life, and all of a sudden they're easy because I'm strong. So cool. I want to do more. I want to be strong enough to be able to carry my 80-pound dog down the mountain if he ends up hurting himself. The mountain, heaven forbid. But it comes down to I want to be able to. That's what's hard about bodybuilding is in the past it was 100% size and proportions. And now it's more about aesthetics. Yep. And functionality and like, cause yeah, I'm like, I may need to strict curl 15 pounds, so I'll do that all day and I'm going to get size, but I don't need to do 35. Like, that's how you end up feeling it in your toes and your hamstrings. And that's not bodybuilding. That's just tense. Yeah. Like, I see all these people that want to be big and strong. And I'm like, you've got to check your ego at the door, because in reality, no one is over there looking, oh, she's only curling 15s. Nobody thinks that.
Unless you're a huge asshole, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is sometimes there are huge assholes.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, and then what's funny is I'm like, well, I can do that too, but I'm not an idiot. Yeah. Like, it's just, and you guys, everyone can lift how they want. Everybody has their way of lifting. And some people can do, like, some people need to strictly pick up 300 pounds. I mean, if someone is moving construction bars and they have to be able to pick up a giant beam by themselves, they have no option. I could see that being a feasible idea, right? So I'm not discounting anybody's work ethic or way of training. I've just found what works for me because I'm so tense all the time that if I go for heavy weight, I just feel even more tense, and I carry a lot of stress in my back. And if I lift heavy weight on a tight back, my back will literally seize up and I have no mobility of it. That's my body's reaction to stress. So I'm stressed a lot. So I'm like, well, let me go with lightweight and have the right form because it's light enough weight that it works.
So you said before that you used to work at a hospital? Yeah. So how does that, because I've had a guy on here too that he worked in the what's it called? Where people that they know that they're going to die, they go the hospice. I had a guy who worked at a children's hospice, and that inspired him to take up music because he was a musician who then took time off to do something like that, and then just seeing people go through that type of stuff really inspired him to pursue his passion. When you were working at the hospital, did that really help you with your bodybuilding, just knowing that you are a strong and able person and able to do this as opposed to people that you might deal with who just have gotten a rough hand in life? Did that really inspire you just to, keep doing what you're doing?
The best way I can put it is it was the most humbling job I've ever experienced in my life, because here I am making crap money, by the way, but I'm able to. I was literally wheelchairing people that weighed, well over 500 pounds, and I was pushing beds that weighed over 1,000 pounds with people in them. And, you have wheels and stuff that help you push, but I remember pushing them up the hills and having to do down the hill slow. And I'm like, how the hell do people in my department do this without exercise? Because I'm doing exercise and I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even imagine how they're feeling, and they don't have any idea about nutrition. And I met some really cool people. So my job was patient transportation while I was in school. And so I would literally go to the rooms and take them to each individual. I was everywhere in the hospital, every unit, talked to every type of person, took people to x-rays, took them to discharge them, admitted people from the ER to the hospital. And I had to help with assisting transfers of people who weighed way more than I did. And these people couldn't even move, and they depended on me to help them move. And I was like, well, crap, I better start strengthening my back because I can't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I started taking the stairs too to help keep up with because it was a lot of cardio. And that's when I started getting lean. People would even notice through my scrubs at the hospital. They're like, who are you? I'm a lot I looked a lot smaller in my scrubs. Mm-hmm. I'm a fairly petite person. I just have quite a bit of muscle mass for my height and for build. So, but these big old scrubs just drown me. And so if I'd have a sleeve up or something, because I was sweating my ass off,
mm-hmm.
People would see my shoulders and they're blown away.
Yeah.
But because it's so loose, I'd have some people underestimate me too. I remember a few old women that were no, I've been dropped. You're going to drop me. Terrified. And because I learned that when you're holding heavy weight, you've got to be stable. Mm-hmm. I learned how to have that stability and that focus of just be strong and let them use you. So I don't get hurt. They get moved into their wheelchair, okay, or they get out of the bed, okay, whatever. And it really helped. It was cool to be part of something, even though it was crap pay. I loved that job for the aspect of the social life. And that's why I'm still on the track to being some sort of medical. I just don't know if it's going to be physical therapy or if it's going to be a practice. Mm-hmm. And so we'll see. I just figure I'll get my degree in exercise science and go from there.
One of the things that I've also really liked to ask people, and this is the first time I've asked this question because I thought of it last night, but when it comes to buying clothes, has it been a struggle for you since you put on a lot of muscle finding right clothes? Because you wouldn't think. There is a big, ever since Instagram took off, I really do think health and fitness, especially for women, has really taken off. But do you think has it still kind of been a struggle for you to find proper clothes that work for you?
So I actually in high school I bought I had a ton of money to spend. I tried to fit in with girls, so I'd go shopping with them and buy clothes, but none of them fit me because I'm built similarly, but I'm a lot smaller in other areas. I threw on a shirt yesterday that used to be tight on my arms, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's loose. So I haven't bought new clothes or had to go shopping and try on new things, but it's actually been a lot easier, if anything, because I struggled my whole life with fitting into something because I was supposed to be a certain size. I grew up in this, I live in Provo, Utah, mm-hmm. which is LDS Central.
I was going to ask a question about Mormons. Yeah, I was eventually going to ask that, yeah.
I grew up LDS. I'm not terribly active now, but I have no negative feelings toward the church. I actually agree with a lot of things. Don't agree with some things, but I don't practice it. Yeah. I just try to be a good person, essentially. And
Which I will say before we talk about that, Mormons are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. Like, there's such a negative stereotype about them, some things that they do that most people don't agree with, but you cannot disagree with the fact that they are, once you meet them, they are some of the nicest people you will ever meet in your life.
absolutely. Like, and some of them are not.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you can't even put, like, someone's religion as a type of person.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, technically, I'm a Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
But here, I'm not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because, like, I've been baptized. My records are in
Yeah.
there because I grew up that way. But I don't care enough to take them out and be like, I don't care. But with the religion, I grew up being taught that you are supposed to be tiny, petite, feminine, dependent, dainty, just your overall, like, old school idea of what a woman should be. And I had a problem with that. Because I'm like, I literally can never be that girl unless I gain muscle and then I just starve myself to get that small. And then I'm not going to look healthy. It's stupid.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I forgot the whole point of that, but
The clothes thing.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
like, I grew up wearing super baggy clothes, and I, like, legitimately, until, like, 6th grade, wore my brother's hand-me-downs, because I just loved baggy clothes. I was insecure about my body since I was, like, 3.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, not 3, but I remember being in elementary school, and I was at least a 1st or 2nd grader. Not 3, sorry, that's aggressive. Or 7.
Yeah.
And I remember having a feeling of, like, this girl was, like, just relaxed, and her tummy, like, when you're relaxed, like, not to be weird, but, like, when you're relaxed, you can, like, push your stomach out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, suck in, I can be flat.
Mm-hmm. And
if I just, like, actively used my muscles. But I remember being a little girl and seeing her not using her core and having it out, and she was not fat.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, this looks weird. Like, it could be thought of as fat. A little girl thinking that? Are you kidding? I was like, do I look like that?
Mm-hmm.
And ever since that, I tried to, like, suck in. And it was, so I had, like, the eating disorder, and it was, there's 2 ends. There's where you starve yourself, and there's where you overeat. And I was at the overeating end. So I had the body dysmorphia. I had the anxious feelings towards food and the eating disorder. And so, like, now, I don't want that. Like, that's the old chick.
Mm-hmm.
I want, like, I literally, like, my cousin, she's like, you have 2 gallons of ice cream in your freezer. Yeah, but it's been in there for, like, 6 months. So I was like, not 2 gallons. It was a gallon and 2 half gallons. It took me 4 months to finish a half gallon of ice cream.
Wow.
But I have an entire gallon. I mean, because it's in moderation. Mm-hmm. Like, if I want some ice cream, I'm going to just take a spoonful and be done. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, it's like, oh, I shouldn't eat it. And then I end up eating the whole thing because I'm like, no one will know.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. I got 2 questions, and then we'll go to our audience favorite, the 5 questionnaire that we like to do. But one thing that I was going to, like, a comment I was going to make is that one thing that I really think that Instagram has really helped spotlight with the health and fitness thing, when you realize a lot of these girls that are really into health and fitness now did suffer from eating disorders before they got into the bodybuilding lifestyle. I really think it's shown a positive light because without Instagram, we wouldn't know. Me as a guy, like, I've never suffered from anything like that. I've never had to do. I'm 6'2", and I was always really skinny growing up, so I had the opposite thing where I was just the tall, lunky kid. But I was so shocked when I learned that, like, all these girls suffer from, like, because the societal image that we get that women should be, you know, skinny and they should have a certain look, and a lot of them, I'd say 90% of women just naturally won't look like that, so a lot of them develop eating disorders, and it was a huge eye-opener for me, like, listening to all these stories from all these fit girls and even some guys that I follow talking about their eating disorders. Has that really helped you out, the whole Instagram thing, being able to reach out to other people and know that others are going through the same stuff that you went through?
So the only person that I've ever reached out to on Instagram was Cass Martin, and I didn't respond. I was super sad about it. I was like, but then I met her in person, and she's cool. She's busy. Like, I get it. It's whatever. But the hardest part was everyone on Instagram wants to look like everything's okay, right? People want the appearance of, I'm big, I'm bad, I'm doing it, follow me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the biggest thing that I have noticed lately is the people who are successful and the people who do well in life what do they all have in common? They all came from a really crappy background, and some are worse than others, and I don't even know if mine's considered crappy to some people, but it doesn't matter because it affected me, and it's affected other people, and it kind of comes back to, at the end of the day, we're all struggling, and the people who put it out there are the people that help other people, and so I never really had to, I mean, I've always been kind of a loner. I'm a very social being. Like, I love people. I can talk to people, but I prefer being alone. I really do. And it's because I've had, my whole life I've been told what to do, what to think because of the culture here. And I'm just done with it. And so I didn't really need someone else to tell me that I had a problem with food. I know I have a problem with food. I deal with it every day. Like, I just need to do the best that I can and put it out there in case I might help somebody else, because no one else helped me. Yeah. Which sounds so stupid, and I hate saying that, but in the end, it's only been me. Like, my parents have been supportive in ways that they can be, but I mean, even when I started getting into bodybuilding, I mean, my mom used to tell me growing up that, like, I was gaining weight and that I needed to eat this or not eat that, and would never, like, fix food, right? And so I didn't know what to eat, or I was starving. And then when I started getting into bodybuilding, I had a lot of muscle and a lot of body fat. So I was, like, thick buff, looked like a power lifter, but I was proud of who I was. I was like, Mom, look, my pecs are coming in. And I remember, I can't even tell you how many, not just my mom, but friends who would tell me, oh, you just look too big. That's too much. You should, I literally had a girl tell me, you should stop working out. Don't tell me what to do. And so I had to learn that no one is, people want you to do well, but no one wants you to do better than them. And so I had to just do it for myself.
Yeah, I have a really close friend who she runs marathons, so she's got that runner build where everything is just super, super lean, just no ounce of body fat whatsoever. And she even gets told sometimes, like, you should stop working out, your arms look way too big, and I, like, by other guys, and then I'll go up and I'll be like, what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? So it is absolutely ridiculous. But the last thing that we're going to ask before we go to our popular 5 questionnaire segment is one of the things that I realize, I'm from Minnesota, so it's a lot colder up there. What would you say? Do you guys get a lot of cold temperatures in Utah? This is just part of the question.
Yeah, it's freaking cold here.
Yeah. So I usually like to ask people that are from more northern climates, how do you maintain that lifestyle, especially going through the winter months? Because like we say here in Minnesota, you only have to be fit basically 6 months out of the year because the other 6 months you're in sweaters, so it doesn't really matter anyway. How do you still, when it gets really, really cold out, how do you still maintain that drive and that motivation?
I eat a lot. I'm like, well, it's all hiding, so I don't need to see it. Like, I do like what I call it, a baby bowl. So I still eat Thanksgiving dinner. Just like I said, like, everything in moderation, including moderation itself during the holidays. Like, gaining a little bit of body fat in the winter is not going to be bad, but I haven't been this successful with maintaining a physique before. So until the last couple of months, when I've really just been, like, consistent about my thinking, is when I've seen the most results. And I'm interested to see how it goes going into winter, especially because the dark side, right, comes out when you're not outside as much. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens. But the biggest thing is I don't know, just try not to focus on, oh, I shouldn't eat that. Like, it's like, well, why you don't have to eat the whole thing. Like, if you're on prep, like, do your thought process. But if you're not prepping for something, what is wrong with gaining 3% body fat in 3 months? That's not bad. Like, and then you can put on you have to be able to, by physics, in order to gain muscle mass, you have to eat more than you're burning. Bottom line. That's just basic science.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, so now we go to our audience favorite. It's the most popular thing, is our 5 questionnaire segment at the end. I've added a few extra questions. Hang on one second. Oh, God. Okay, I've added a few extra questions at the end of this. So, again, this is our 5-questionnaire segment. So, and I add up the results, and then I compare. For our musicians, I add up a list, and then for our health and fitness, I think I'm going to add a list, because we have Lexi's our 7th health and fitness guest, so I think I'll make a category of their own. But for the first question, what is your go-to workout song?
Anything like rap, as far as like NF, Tech 9, and E double. Mm-hmm. Anything that's real and motivating, not just like talking about like the reason I personally like NF a lot because he talks a lot about like dealing with depression and dealing with feelings, and it's just about getting out of your head and doing something. And so I really take to heart the lyrics that I choose to put into my head, and it has to have a beat that goes along with lifting. Mm-hmm. And I just found that rap is definitely one of the best and best for me.
I'm one of the old school, like Metallica, Megadeth, stuff like that, where I got to wait for the specific beat before I either start like doing curls or lat pull downs. You got to get it timed right. But for our second question, if you could train with any celebrity in the world, who would you train with?
The Rock.
Yep, our most popular answer by far. Yep,
he's awesome.
Yep. He goes so hard, and like when you look at his stuff, he eats so much asparagus that first of all, I couldn't do it. Like, he lists his workout, and it's like, yeah, a pound of asparagus a day, or like 2 pounds or whatever, and it's ridiculous. Like, I don't want to pea green. I'm sorry, that's not what I'm all about.
Hey, and that's okay.
Yeah,
totally okay.
Yeah. But one of the things that I also like to touch on too when I ask this question is, we all see on Instagram these celebrities posting these workouts where they have like 2.5 pound dumbbells, where they're like, oh my God, getting fit, like doing all this. And I just say, oh my God, what a load of crap. It's like, show your actual workouts that you're doing, because some of these celebrities, you're like, you know that you're working out harder than you are, and you're just like trying to promote stuff. Do you think that overall hurts sort of the image of people when it comes to wanting to get fit, when they see these celebrities doing these sort of half-ass workouts and they think that that's all that it takes?
And here's the thing: is we define a celebrity as having more than 1,000 followers.
Well, yeah, like some like the actresses or some people like that.
Which is awesome. I condone everyone being healthy. However, if you don't know what you're talking about, you should not be educating people, because that's like you pretending to know calculus and teaching someone basic algebra. They're not going to be doing it right. They're going to fail the test. And by that, I mean, like, you could end up really hurting your body if you don't know what you're doing. So I see a lot of, like, especially just mostly female, unfortunately, they look great. They work out. I'm sure they work out really well when they're not on, like, recording, but a lot of the time they worry about their image. Mm-hmm. And what is sacrificed when you are worried about your image is correct form, correct way of, like, movement, and you can really injure yourself. I mean, you see, like, the videos where people are like, hey, that's why we see so many gym fails. Mm-hmm. Like, here's the problem is we have so much information at our fingertips, but not all of it is right. And so when I see girls posting, like, videos of them squatting and they've got the arc back and their booty, like, duck butt out, I'm like, you are about to snap your spine in half. Like, where's your core? I was that girl. Mm-hmm. Like, not posting, but I was seeing other people's posts. Like, and I was like, oh, that's right. And then I like look back now and I'm like, that's why my back hurt. Mm-hmm. That's why I couldn't walk. That's why I had no flexibility. And that's kind of goes back to just learning to do it by myself. Like, no one can teach you how it feels. Mm-hmm. They can tell you how to get there to know what it feels like, but no one can give you that actual feeling. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. I recommend anyone, like, wanting to get into fitness, go hire a trainer for 30 days and just have them teach you basic movements. Mm-hmm. And then you can just add weight and you can get, like, I mean, me, like, raising my arm to the side is building my delt. It's just going to take a lot longer to build it as if I had 10 pounds on there, because it's going to take longer to exhaust it. Yep. That's it.
So now, if you could live in any historical time period other than the current one you're living in, where would you choose?
Old school bodybuilding days, I would have killed it.
Oh, yeah. You would be the biggest by far. If you look at those old school, like the early 70s, early 80s, especially for women's bodybuilding, when they were just starting to get stuff figured out, you would kill it. You would have killed it. Yeah, for sure. For me, I look at all these old historical periods and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to live in, like, ancient Rome, ancient Greece. But then you realize, you die at the age of 25 with some horrible illness or you get drafted into the military and die fighting someplace. So yeah, I'm complicit right here, but I don't know. That's a open-ended question for me. So, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, That's like asking me my favorite song. There's so many. Actually, I have one. It's called The Gambler.
Mhm.
But it's got Mark Wahlberg in it.
Yep.
All right, let me finish my waffle. So it's got Mark Wahlberg in it, and the reason that it's my favorite movie is because there's a scene. Mark Wahlberg has a gambling problem. He came from a very wealthy family. His dad passed away, ended up coping with it by gambling, feeling the rush, whatever. Got himself into so he was up like $1 million, and then was like, well, I can gamble it and get more. Ended up being $2 million up, and then lost it all and was in debt like $2 million. And he went to this other guy to get help. And this guy comes to him and he says, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "You were up $2.5 million, and you didn't invest in anything. You bought all these cool things and this and that, and you spent it on women and cars and whatever." And he's like, "And then you come to me and you ask me for help." He goes, "F you."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, any smart man knows to live his position from an F you point of view. As far as, if you're up $2.5 million, any dumb person knows you buy a house with a 30-year roof. And that becomes your fortress of solitude. And your fortress of solitude is safe, that no one can take it from you because it's paid for. And then the 30-year roof protects it. And he's like, once you do that, you are in a position of F you. Because no one can take anything from you, because worst case scenario, at least you have a place to live. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he talks about his grandpa. He's like, was your grandpa a smart man? Did he do well? He's like, oh yeah, very successful. I inherited all this money through my grandparents, my parents, because they were really smart with their money. And he's like, so anyways, he ended up giving him the money. And at the end of the movie, the guy, Mark Wahlberg, breaks even, gets the girl, it's happy.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. Yeah. There's so much more to it, mm-hmm. But he comes to him, he's like, hey man, we've got this deal going. You've got another $2.5 million that you've won. You want in? And he goes, F you. And I'm like, that's what I want to live. Mm-hmm. I don't want to live and do things in life because other people tell me I have to. I want to be able to do whatever I want because F you, I'm safe. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
If there was only one book that you could read for the rest of your life, what book would it be?
Wow. Self-help book.
Yep. Absolutely. So, if there was only one day left to live, how would you live it?
Same way I'm living my life right now. Mm-hmm. Wake up, eat food, go to the gym. I have the dog, come home, or feed my horses, scoop shit.
I personally would try one drug, just to see what it was like. I would try one. If I knew that if we had an asteroid coming towards us, nothing we could do, I'd try a drug. I don't know. I wouldn't say which drug it would be on because of the sensors and everything, but I would try a drug probably just to see what it felt like. You never know. But
That's true. I mean, I'd probably have my family around me and just the things that I care about because there's nothing I can do, and mm-hmm. I'd as well enjoy it. And
yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy the things that I have in my life already.
And lastly, for our 5 questionnaire, where do you see yourself in a year? What's the goal?
Oh, hopefully financially stable, and hopefully I'll have my pro card.
Yeah.
That's really cool to have.
Yeah, that would be unbelievable. So, obviously, people can find you on Bentley801 Instagram. We'll leave all the links down below. Lexi, it was great having you on. I like to ask this final question usually before we wrap it up here. Someone comes up to you on the street and asks, hey, you obviously look amazing. I really want to get into fitness myself. What's the best piece of advice for that person starting out?
Get a gym membership. If you don't know how to use a machine, YouTube it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So everyone, again, Lexi Bentley, I highly recommend going and checking her out. Just watching her on Instagram, you will be inspired to work out more. She will inspire you to put down those Twinkies and lift those weights. It's a huge inspiration. She is insanely fit. I highly recommend. If you have any questions, you could probably go and hit her up. She would probably be down for that. Is that something that you'd like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have any questions, go and hit her up for sure. And then this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone. All right.